They've done it. Michigan State basketball has actually reached out to a portal target. What kind of a player is Javon Hadley like? Also, Michigan State hockey kicks off their NCAA Tournament journey on Friday. We talk with Nathaniel Bott of Lansing State Journal. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. We got some hockey talk coming in segments 2 and 3 with Nathaniel Bott of the Lansing State Journal. But first, we're going to stay on the basketball court for the first segment. But before that, please rate, review, subscribe, comment below on YouTube if you're in the mood to do so. And off we go. Now, yesterday's show, we kicked things off talking about Bryson Tucker, the 5-star wing that Michigan State was in play for. We also introduced that, hey, Indiana is also in play for Bryson Tucker too. And with Kansas maybe leaning towards Liam McNeely, this looks like a Michigan State versus Indiana battle. It'd be nice to have Bryson Tucker here in East Lansing. That dream didn't even last 24 hours after we published that episode because, hey, what happened Thursday? Bryson Tucker commits to Indiana. So Tuck is not coming back to East Lansing, if you just want to put it that way. So if you want to chalk that up to the Locked On Spartans jinx, by all means, go for it. It's not like we said that he was going to come here, so it's depends on your definition of jinx, but nevertheless, that didn't even last 24 hours after that episode, so that's just great. However, let's talk about where Michigan State stands in the national rankings because that puts a close to the 2024 recruiting class. Now, Michigan State, 3 really nice players, Jesse McCulloch out of Ohio, Kurt Tang, and also Jace Richardson, as we all know, son of former Michigan State player Jason Richardson. That puts Michigan State 14th overall in the country per the 24/7 Sports Composite. And if you look at it in the conference, that's the 3rd best class in the Big Ten Conference. And that even includes the USCs, the Oregons, the Washingtons, the teams coming in next year. Rutgers, which has like a top 3 class next year nationally, they're number 1, and Purdue is number 2. Now, grades for classes, they're predicated on how good are the players and how many of the players are in this class. If you just took away how many players are in the class, the average rating for Michigan State is still 3rd best in the conference. So a nice recruiting class, even without the addition of Bryson Tucker. So now what? Now that Bryson Tucker isn't coming? Because we talked yesterday that Michigan State needs a big wing for next year. Well, it's easy to talk yourself into plan B. Actually, when you hear it out loud, it really doesn't seem like a plan B at all as to what happened since Bryson Tucker commits to Indiana. There's something called the transfer portal. Guys, we might actually get to use it this year, which would be really cool. But this is what you get with your plan B, I guess is what we'll call it, or a plan 1A or 1B is what we'll call it, because you get an experienced player at least out of the portal. Yes, Bryson Tucker, I'm sure he's going to have a great career. You're going to hear his name called in the NBA draft. You can just go ahead and bet in the future. But we see freshmen all over the country and at Michigan State even this year coming really talented, but their game isn't completely refined. There are still some parts of their game that only experience can teach them. So this is where the transfer portal comes in. And may I introduce you to a man by the name of Javon Hadley out of Colorado. He dips into the transfer portal. This will be his 4th year in college coming up. And hey, here is a tweet that comes out, and, well, there's Minnesota, there's Michigan, there's Nebraska, DePaul, Iowa State, Texas A&M. There's all sorts of schools, but for the first time, Michigan State is on this list of kids that are connected or that have been reached out to by the staff of Michigan State. We talked about that on yesterday's show. So, hey, it seems like the transfer portal is pretty active. Things can move quick. Why isn't Michigan State reaching out to anyone yet, or why hasn't it been public? Well, here you go, Javon Hadley. I'm going to press the brakes right now. because I don't want this hanging over my head if things move rather quickly here in the future for Javon Hadley. Smoke could very well be blowing already to Iowa State for this one. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there right now, not to just absolutely douse 40-gallon buckets of water on the parade, but things could be looking good for the Cyclones down there. But nevertheless, it's still worth having a conversation because we learned two things. We learned, okay, well, what's their number one priority in the transfer portal? It's a big wing, like we hypothesized on here, but also specifically what kind of a player on the wing are they looking for? So let's say crazy things happen and Michigan State is back in play for Javon Hadley. 6'6", 205 pounds, from St. Paul, actually. There's some Michigan State connections here. He was teammates with Trey Holloman in high school, and he started his collegiate career at Northeastern. He spent a year with Tyson Walker back in the day. So familiar with two Spartans already off the top. Last year for Colorado, averaged 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2.3 assists per game, and he had the highest offensive rating on Colorado per BartTorvik.com. So really efficient player offensively, and this is what you see out of experienced players. We can even just take this just beyond Javon Hadley. This is what you get out of guys that are going in their third year, or in Hadley's case, a fourth year of college. Because when you watch Hadley's tape, his just cutting off the ball, his backdoor cuts that he does off the ball, the way he handles himself to get open and slash through the lane. All right. That comes with maturity and time in the college game. He is a polished passer. That's something that comes along later in your college career more times than not. And man, is he strong in transition, whether it's cutting, whether it's finishing. He has the physicality to finish at the Power 6 level. And hey, again, there are talented freshmen all over the place, but it's hard to find some that are physically ready to play basketball like your incoming juniors or incoming seniors are. So that could be the kind of mold Michigan State is looking at here for their wings. Someone that is going into their third or fourth year of college here, and someone that stands somewhat close to 6'6", 205. Again, big wing. I know if you played a drinking game and you took a sip every time I said big wing the last 2 days, you'd be probably on the floor right now. But this teaches a lesson of where Michigan State is going in the transfer portal. So why is this important? Why is a big wing important? Because, well, this lets Jaden Akins slide to the 2. And it's been long thought of that's his natural position, but he's kind of logjam with, Tyson Walker being there last year. Okay, so that's going to, you're just going to be playing more 3. Jaden Akins, I know you've been waiting very patiently for 3 years, but you just go ahead and do us a solid. Play out of position for 1 more year. Get in a big wing there. It eliminates the option of even having to put Jaden Akins at that role. Okay, and it also, not just Jaden Akins, but it helps Cohen Carr too, because I think Cohen Carr is more of a true 4, both offensively and especially defensively too. You have a guy that just is plug in and play, a guy that has experience, that's going to do wonders for both of those guys. And just from a roster standpoint, you're not putting all your eggs. Let's say that you do put Jaden Akins at the 2 no matter what happens. You're not putting all your eggs in the Garrick Normand basket. And that's not to say that I don't think Garrick Normand's a good player. I do think he's a good player. I think he's going to have a fine career here in East Lansing. I love his game. But again, the experience. Yes, he did redshirt. Yes, it will be his 2nd year in college, but it'll be his 1st year of game action. I feel a little better, a little more confident, and I think the staff feels the same way if you have a guy in there that has been around the block in college for a little bit longer there. So, again, whether it is Javon Hadley, really hope that there is a crack in the door there because he is a good player. I mean, he finishes at the rim at 62%. He's a 41% shooter from 3. Granted, he only takes about 1 attempt from 3 per game, but he's a good shooter because when you look at his 84% free throw percentage, many, many times, if not almost every single time, you can marry free throw shooting with how good of a shooter you are. And if you look at his effective field goal percentage, 58% effective field goal percentage. That's in the upper 82 percentile of college basketball. I got that nice little fun fact from his highlight tapes that he punched in. So it was just nice to see Twitter actually see Michigan State connected or reaching out to one of these kids because, man, oh, man, we are starved for any news in this transfer portal cycle. I swear 70 Twitter users, myself included, out of nowhere, just became scouts. They started grinding this kid's tape immediately. We are desperate for a big addition in this transfer portal season. So whether it's Javon Hadley or not, hey, guys, communication is at least starting to happen from Michigan State's side of things. So if not for nothing else, Yeah, we can enjoy that. All right, we're going to be talking hockey here in a quick second. First, need to talk your ears off about Manscaped. This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off and free shipping. Now let's talk a little bit more about this Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable blades, next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and the new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Also, if you're worried about making a mess, do not worry. This bad boy is waterproof. You could take this thing in the shower, take it in the bath, take it into a hot tub, take it into the ocean. Don't let anyone stop you except maybe local authorities. I don't know if they would appreciate you bringing that into an ocean, but nevertheless, this thing is durable. It's waterproof. So get 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON. Again, all one word, LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Also, Bettor Together wants to make this March Madness a little more enjoyable from the daily fantasy side of things. Guys, if you know my bracket, yeah, the one with St. Mary's, Kentucky, and Auburn all in the Final Four, you know that I have been blown to smithereens right off the top. But hey, Bettor Together wants you to stay in the game this March Madness, introducing Bettor Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent and you can play with your friends, not against them. Pair up with a partner, pair up with a few partners, pick more or less on real-time players, stats, and strategize with your partner to boost your odds and climb the leaderboard together. So join the movement, join the daily fantasy sports movement with Bettor Together. Now, download Bettor Together from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON. That's all one word, LOCKEDON, for a chance to win your share of over $1,000 in cash prizes. Again, download Bettor Together from the App Store and use code LOCKEDON for a chance to win your share of over $1,000 in cash prizes with promo code LOCKEDON. Because winning alone is fun, but it's Bettor Together. Folks, we got boots on the ground over in Maryland Heights, courtesy of Nathaniel Bott. Yes, he covers Michigan State hockey. He does some preps reporting. Just outstanding work over at Lansing State Journal. Nathaniel, you just left the arena not too long ago doing some media coverage. What are the vibes like down there in Maryland Heights?
Yeah, it's good. You know, I think from the outside, there's a lot of complaints from maybe some fans about, you know, the attendance and not enough room. But, you know, you talk to the players and they're all excited to be in a packed rink. You know, all 4 teams here, they sell out their home crowds pretty regularly this season. So they're used to the packed environment, and I think they're expecting things to be electric come tomorrow night.
Electric it will be. If you've missed recent chats or you're not hip to it, Michigan State and this regional is playing in a 2,500 seat arena. Okay, it's about like half the size of Munn, roughly. So it's going to be unique circumstances for all teams involved. But when you were at the arena earlier today, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from the media availability and your chats with Michigan State personnel?
Yeah, I think you look at Western and Michigan State, and they play a really similar style. They're fast. They like to score. They like to get inside. But then, you know, you look at the roster, and Western Michigan has 16 guys who are seniors or grad students. They've played in 3 straight NCAA tournaments now, or this will be their 3rd. And Michigan State's got 1 guy with NCAA tournament experience in Reed Lebster. So from Michigan State's side, their biggest takeaway is, look, age is just a number. You know, I'll have a piece going out about this tomorrow, but you know, they've played in big games this year. They played, you know, in a GLI final for a trophy. They played in the sold-out Little Caesars Arena, dueling the D. They went to Wisconsin with a Big Ten title on the line. That's a 13,000-seat arena that was, you know, to capacity that game. So despite the youth, you know, they seem ready to go and ready for the moment. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from the Spartan side.
And were you able to talk with Western personnel, whether it was coach or players today? Were you able to chat it up with them?
Yeah, for sure. You know, they're equally excited too. You know, I think especially with Pat and Adam and their relationship. You know, they coached together with Detroit, and you know they become really good friends. And I think Adam has taken a lot of his his coaching and some of his philosophies he's learned from Pat directly. So I think for them it's an exciting matchup. But I think Pat put it best. They're not the ones playing anymore. It's the two teams on the ice. So the players are going to be the ones who ultimately decide things.
Was there anything that Western was talking about, like when they were discussing Michigan State, that worries them about the Spartans, or was it more so they were just talking about themselves ahead of this game?
Yeah, I think both sides are, the focus is on what they control and what they can do. I will say, I think, one thing that Pat Ferschweiler said was, talking about a kid like Levshunov, he's an extremely talented player, but he's also 18 years old. So, they think maybe it's, there's tons of positives on MSU's side with the skill he brings, but, maybe they can take advantage of some of the youth that the Spartans have. And I know Pat coached Trey Augustine too at World Juniors. He knows how good of a goaltender he is. And, but Western definitely seems confident that, they've been able to score on a lot of good teams this season. So I think their confidence hasn't wavered in facing Augustine.
So in this game, the puck drops 5 p.m. Eastern time on ESPNU for those not lucky enough to be there. What should worry us Michigan State fans the most about Western? Is it just that high-flying offense that you're talking about, or is there anything more specific or different about the Broncos that you think we should really be nervous about in this game?
Yeah, I think Western they play really heavy. They have heavy bodies, and they're going to forecheck relentlessly. And it's going to be on Michigan State's blue liners to, get the puck out of their zone cleanly, transition smoothly through the neutral zone. And I think if they're able to do that, the amount of pressure that Western puts on, it can lead to some, 3-on-2s, 2-on-1 chances for Michigan State going the other way. And then, you look at net, Cameron Rowe played at Wisconsin, transferred into Western prior to last season. But he's started all 37 games for them. So there's no doubt who's going to be in net for the Broncos. And he's an experienced guy and definitely a capable goaltender that MSU will have to be on their A game to get by him.
And you also had a great piece not too long ago for Lansing State Journal, and this is for the hockey casuals, which of course there are many of, because hockey is having a boom right now. It's been a while since there's been this much passion around it. So as people are entering the bandwagon, you had a nice little 3 things to know about Michigan State hockey as they go to the NCAA tournament. Now, we don't have to go through all 3. We don't have to give everything away for free here. But what was the one biggest thing that you think State fans should know ahead of this game about the Spartans if this is their first time watching them all season?
Yeah, I think just offensively and the pace they play with, they're really, really fast, and they have a lot of guys who, up and down their lineup who can produce. It's a 4-line, production. There's a lot of schools who have 1 or 2 top lines who get most of the scoring done. But you look at Michigan State, they're I think the 5th highest scoring offense in the country, and they don't have a player in the top 60 in points. So that just speaks to how many weapons that they really have and how many guys can get on the score sheet. And then obviously, Augustine is worth the price of admission just to watch him in net. And then, Levshunov, just the way he just kind of glides on the ice, it looks almost effortlessly sometimes. So, he's certainly, those 2 freshmen are, pinpoints to watch and just keep your eye on, and they're real exciting to watch play.
Now, I know it is canon that in the world of podcasting and media that you're supposed to save the prediction for the very end of the chat, but let's just get after it right now. Let's get after it right now, Nathaniel. Do you have a prediction for this game, Spartans versus Broncos? Because in a little bit, we'll talk more, distant future here. But right now, Friday night, what is your prediction?
Yeah, I think the first 10 minutes or so will be really telling. I think if Michigan State's able to, get out to a good start and, get their legs under them early and not let Western rely on some of that experience and tournament experience that they've, had, I think that'll be really beneficial for the Spartans. I think they're going to get their 2-on-1s and their 3-on-2 chances. Western has a really good penalty kill, but so do the Spartans. And
gotcha.
I think Michigan State's going to ultimately be a little too much for Western to handle. But again, I think those first 10 minutes are going to be really telling, because I could definitely see a world where Western could jump out to a 1-0 or 2-0 lead early, and then maybe some worry sets in. But I don't think the Spartans let that happen, and I think they'll be skating on Sunday in the regional final.
I could already feel the heart beating a little faster right now. Like there is nothing like playoff hockey, even when it's two teams that you couldn't care any less about. It's still a
Absolutely.
nerve-wracking sport. But dude, when there's blood in the game, when you're watching a team you actually root for, oh my God, it like just one bounce of the puck goes the wrong or right way, and it's either jubilation or the most devastating thing you've ever seen in your entire life. So we're gonna talk more long-term about the tournament here. We got more to grill Nathaniel on in a hot second. But first, you need to talk all your ears off about Nissan. Now, our friends over at Nissan, they're doing something cool this March Madness. They are sponsoring the bracket highlight brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level, like the Iowa State Cyclones. They can only be described as a Pathfinder. They've been a thrilling team to watch and have really created a lane for themselves, entering the tournament as one of the hottest teams in the country. They have a date with Illinois this Thursday. Heck, by the time you're listening to this game might already be over, but that's in the Sweet 16. Or another hot team, the NC State Wolfpack. They are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. This team absolutely surprised us all with the powerful performance in their first two games of the tournament with wins over Texas Tech and Oakland, and they have set up a date to play Marquette in the Sweet 16. They say win life, go Rogue, and that's exactly what the Wolfpack have done here. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. And let's drag the one, the only Nathaniel Bott from Lansing State Journal back onto the show here because we're just going to start this segment with a big question here. Let's all dream. Let's all hold our hands together and dream. Nathaniel, why can this Michigan State team win the whole thing? I'm not talking about this game against Western. I'm not talking about the regional. I'm talking next 4 games. Why can they do it?
I think the first thing that stands out is you look in that, and it's Trey Augustine, and he's a guy who has won World Juniors. He's played in massive games, representing his country, and even just this season. And you look at that game at Wisconsin. If they don't win that first game of that series, I don't know if they end up winning the Big Ten, because that's that ends up being senior night at Wisconsin and he makes 44 saves in that game, and Michigan State comes out on top. He's been excellent here in the last month and a half, 2 months especially. And when it comes down to these single game eliminations, oftentimes it's the hot goaltender who carries the team, and he's checks every box in that regard. So I think you pair that with just the amount of offense that they have. I think their biggest key to make a run to Frozen Four or to farther, to a national title would be staying out of the box. Even though they do have a good penalty kill, if you keep taking penalties, at some point it's going to hurt you. So I think that's a big focus for them going forward. But it's a young team, but it's an extremely talented team, and they've all bought into the way Nightingale wants to play. I don't think there's a better conditioned team in the country. So when those third periods and tight games come, I think they'll be prepared for it.
The penalty kill is like having self-defense skills. Like it's better to have it and not use it than to need one and not have it. Sure, it's a great penalty kill. It's awesome. Would love to see very minimal of that, though, in the next game, 2 games, 4 games, or whatever it is. Now, for those that want to keep this chat upbeat here, just go ahead and turn this down for the next minute or so, because I have to ask on the contrary. What is something that could snake bite this team? Because no team is perfect, although Michigan State is, damn near close to it as a 1 seed. What should be a worry about this team, and why can't they win the national title?
Yeah, I think if they were to run into a team who, and it's kind of like a Western Michigan team who forechecks relentlessly. There's been times where there's some backline turnovers that have resulted in. You could have the best goalie in the world, but no matter what, if you turn the puck over in your own zone, then it just gives teams too many quality chances. I think, if they run into a really good forechecking team that's able to take advantage of that, I think that could be an issue. But as you've seen this year, I mean, they've been down in games big, and they've fought back, numerous times. You look to Michigan, to the Minnesota game that they won at Munn with 4 seconds left. They were down 2 heading into the third that period. So even if they do get down, they're obviously not out of it. So, but I think falling behind early and just cleaning up some of those defensive transitions and those D zone turnovers. If they're not committing any of those, then they got a real good shot.
Who do you see coming out of this region? Because obviously, look, Michigan State's going to have their hands full in the first game, Western Michigan, but in a 16-team national tournament, like there are no easy outs. There really are no easy outs, though, on the other side of this game should Michigan State win, because it's Michigan, and you know the old adage in basketball, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Well, okay, that could be the same thing in hockey, but this would be a 5th time they'd have to beat Michigan this year, Nathaniel. That's a lot to ask for. And also, let's say Michigan gets beat by North Dakota. And I know that the sports books, they're not the end-all be-all, but they think that North Dakota has a higher chance of winning the national title than Michigan State, even in their own region. So amongst the 4 teams that are meeting up in Maryland Heights, who do you think gets to St. Paul for the Frozen Four?
Well, I already gave Michigan State over Western. I think North Dakota is going to ultimately, take down Michigan. I think Michigan is so high-powered offensively, but the question marks, in net there and on the back line a little bit. North Dakota, I think, is a little more well-rounded for a tournament setting. And then, I think Michigan State definitely has enough to hang with North Dakota. And, I think getting one under their belt, if they're able to really come out and perform well against Western, I think they can carry that momentum forward. I think it's a North Dakota team who's maybe licking their wounds a little bit. If they lose to Omaha in their conference tournament, if they don't do that, they end up playing Denver, and they probably doesn't matter who wins or loses that game, and they both get 1 seeds, and Michigan State's kind of bumped out of that. So I think that's something to look at, and I think Michigan State ultimately is going to come out of this region and find a way to St. Paul.
I like the vibes you're bringing here, man. That's what I'm talking about. This is what the people want to hear. And it's not just blowing sunshine up, or what's. Like, there's reason to believe Michigan State could very well be going to this Frozen Four here. But there's one thing that also scares me a little bit about North Dakota, and this is off the ice. It's their fan base. Because, my God, like, they are some of the most well-traveled fans in this whole country. There's not a lot of seats here at Maryland Heights. Can you get a feel for what the crowd split is going to be this early on? I know you just got out of the car with Graham Couch less than 24 hours ago, but is there an early indication on who's going to have this home ice over the weekend here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, if it were to be Michigan State, North Dakota, if any, Michigan fans stick around, then they'll probably be rooting for North Dakota.
Probably.
But I think if any Western fans stay around, they'd probably be rooting for Michigan State. But I think it's going to be fairly evenly split. I think, just with the resurgence of Michigan State, and you've seen what Munn, or at least seeing what Munn has been, from the start of the season, where they were selling out games early. I mean, to the Big Ten tournament title, I've never heard that arena as loud as it was, when Geary scores that overtime winner. So I think Michigan State fans are going to travel really well here. And so I would expect, it to be fairly split. I think maybe North Dakota fans might be tailgating more outside or whatnot. But I think just with the arena not being as big, I think it maybe plays a little bit into Michigan State's favor, not having so many of those North Dakotans able to get inside.
Right. Yeah. Last question, most important question actually for a lot of people out there. How was the road trip with Graham Couch? Was it okay, or is he just incredibly annoying to road trip with? Go ahead and spill the beans on old Graham here.
No, Graham's great. I mean, maybe a couple of frequent stops because he's down in 6 cups of coffee on the way down. But
Jesus,
I did most of the driving this time. He did the whole leg to Madison, so I figured I'd repay him for that. But no, he's great. He's got his Sirius XM always on the soccer channel. That's what's going, and just a lot of coffee and Red Bull.
Just my God, okay, I'm a little worried about Graham actually after hearing about that. That's God bless him. Whatever's going to keep him going down there, because hey, obviously he works hard. You work incredibly hard too. So really do appreciate all you guys do for the Michigan State beat over at Lansing State Journal. So anything else you want to plug here before we go and enjoy the rest of your evening over in Maryland Heights?
Yeah, just appreciate the support from everyone. Just follow on everything Graham and I do. We'll have just tons of stuff coming, especially if Michigan State gets through Western. Yeah, we'll have a bunch of stuff over at lsj.com, and we'll be sharing it everywhere.
There we go. Really, really, really appreciate your time, Nathaniel. Folks, we will be back on Sunday. We're going to wrap up whatever happens this weekend on the ice. We're going to have a guest as well. Don't want to, spoil anything yet, but it's a guy that's been on the show many times. One of my favorite people to talk to. But until then, let's enjoy this game. Friday night, 5 p.m. Till next time. Love you all. Go Green.